I think everyone has gotten to the point where they played with ChatGPT or some AI tooling and they can understand the amount of leverage it can bring. People are much more apt to leave reviews for other human beings than they are for a business. Like I'll leave a review for the barista who's made my coffee, but not necessarily for the coffee shop. You might wake up in the morning and AI could tell you, hey, I did these 14 things for you overnight and here are the results of it. And here's the things I need you to follow up on. I think churn is the most important thing people should look at. The technological advancements that have been put in front of us, I think are going to be greater than the advent of the internet.
Welcome to this week's L.I.F.S podcast. I'm Matthew Januszek, and I'm here with my co-host Mo Iqbal. Mo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I just felt like it was yesterday that we were together in Westlake at the W3 conference. That was a lot of fun. We got our first run together. And I don't think we've worked out yet, though. I mean, I guess our runs are working, but we actually haven't lifted some heavy things together.
We need
gotta
to
do that.
compare our strength scores, Mo. That's what we need to do.
That could be next for us. Yes. So maybe the next time, maybe in Dallas, where I'll be seeing you tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's we'll add it to the calendar.
Well, look, I'm excited to welcome our special guest this episode. We've got Dan Uyemura, who is the CEO and founder of PushPress. Dan's been at the forefront of helping independent gyms run smarter. I've been admiring him from the sidelines. He's given operators the tools to grow in an industry dominated by big box chains and enterprise platforms. Now, full disclosure, ABC Fitness, as a lot of you know, I'm on the executive team of, and is where I sit, could technically be considered a competitor of PushPress in some way. So this is either the start of a cage match or a masterclass of collaboration. But look, if there's a cage match, I would put my money on Dan, even though Dan, you potentially might have an injury, but even with that, you would probably win and beat me out in a cage match. But either way, Dan, we are so excited to have you here. Welcome to L.I.F.T.S.
Thank you. I don't know if I'm beating you today. I could barely get out of this chair, but it might be fun to see for the audience to see.
Well, look. Today we're going to again. I'm outnumbered by these sort of smart tech heads, as I'll call you both. And in today's episode, we're going to cover a few industry reports that are from, I guess, potentially competitors for all of you guys. We've got the MindBody 2025 State of the Industry report that came out in September, where we're going to sort of dig into a few of the subjects there. We've also got the WellHub report again that came out this month, and which talks about the corporate wellness partnerships. There's the Explore Mariana Tech Insights, which again came out. I'm not sure whether it's something to do with this time of year where these reports come out. And then finally, we're gonna dig into some of the ABC information as well, which is the ABC Usage Among Fitness Consumers report, which came out a little bit earlier this year in June. So maybe we'll kick off with MindBody. This is, I don't know if you can pull this up for those that are watching on YouTube, but they released a report just this month, and I think probably a good place to start is which is quite interesting is even with a lot of the economic headwinds that the industry is facing, cost pressures and signs of recession, certainly in the US market, 72% of fitness and wellness operators report optimism about their business performance in 2025. So probably start off with the first question with you, Dan. One probably a good place to sort of frame this question is maybe share a little bit about the types of the demographic of the clients that you represent, and then probably a little bit further into that, what are you seeing from your side in terms of how optimistic or not that some of the operators that you work with are about the industry at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So we at PushPress basically represent the single owner operator in what I would call group, usually coach-led fitness. Sometimes it could be more one-on-one as opposed to a group, but kind of the boutique end of fitness that is more single owner operated have historically stayed away from franchise or anything of that nature. That's basically because I opened up a boutique studio. I was a single owner operator, and I just have a soft spot in my heart for the number of wheels that these gym owners are recreating over and over and over again in the hundred thousands of gyms that they represent. Speaking specifically to that mind body report, this is gonna be interesting because I haven't even seen it. I haven't seen any of these reports, so it'll be interesting to get it'll be almost like a reaction off the cuff, if you will. I would agree with it. I would agree with it. I think most of our operators are leaning into the industry right now. They are optimistic about things. I think in general, in a single owner operator environment, there's always trepidation or worry about the near future because there's a lot of volatility in terms of performance and how they see their gyms. But in general, I think we've got tailwinds behind us, and I think things are still good in the boutique fitness space.
So here's what stood out to me, Dan. Similar to you, it's the optimism, and I think we are all seeing in general, whether you're an SMB or enterprise or somewhere in between, or whether you're boutique, big box, or trainer led. There is general optimism in our industry today. I think the Mind Body report reflects that. Operators who lean into tech are 9% more confident in the future. And that's not coincidence. That is true correlation. The second biggest theme that I saw on this report was revenue diversification. So, one of the things that the report highlights is growth in retail, events, and holistic services. To me, this tells us two things. Number one, operators realize that the membership model alone isn't good enough. Dan, I'm sure you've seen that they're adding in other services to complement existing membership. Second, members are asking for more integrated wellness experiences. And the third one I would probably kind of put in on there is personalization. Over half of operators say that it is personalization is their most effective retention tactic. And in a world where churn is killing margin because acquisition has gotten so expensive, that's gold. And personalization, we're not just talking about sending a birthday text, right? That is incredibly unsophisticated, but it's really about leveraging data and tech to show members that you actually know them. And so I think a lot of what this report reflects is the trends that we've been seeing build up over the last 3 years.
I would absolutely agree with that. I mean, even in the small business space, we've been kind of going to market and testing some AI type functionalities. I saw some of the tech related stuff in there, and what actually shocked me was I expected maybe a 50-50 split between I'm excited about it and I don't think we need it. And it's been almost 100%, even in the very small single owner operated space. I think everyone has gotten to the point where they played with Chat GPT or some AI tooling, and they can understand the amount of leverage it can bring without a whole lot of training or understanding how to use the tooling itself.
The other thing I thought probably you guys would be able to comment on is that another one of the statements that came out of the report is tech investment distinguishes leaders. So businesses are actively investing in or evaluating new technology, especially AI, and are significantly more likely to be very optimistic on expanding in hiring, marketing, and new services. So what are you seeing in terms of this tech investment? And I listened to a little bit of an older podcast with you, Dan. So this may be a touch out of date to where your company is now. But one of the things that you talked about is that you as it relates to AI, is you created one of these tools that I think in this interview you sort of whisked up over the weekend, where you were able to sort of understand people's satisfaction and getting people almost to make sort of positive comments about their businesses, and that you'd seen certainly for some of these smaller operators, it made those people quite sticky in terms of their relationship. So, in relation to that question, and also the comment about tech investment, what are you seeing for the more smaller operator in terms of what they're investing in and why?
That system you're talking about was a system I made called Gym Happy, which is you can't take. I always say, like, you can't take the coder out of me, so I'm always going to end up coding something eventually. Once AI popped a couple of years ago now, I decided to toy around with it, and I came up with this tool called Gym Happy, which the reality of it is it leverages technology to lean into psychology. And that's kind of like an angle that I preach a lot. Getting a review requires timeliness. It requires personalization. And I don't mean personalization like just some robot automation that sends an email out or text out. But I also believe it requires a human to human connection. And I don't have any data in front of me to prove this, but the general premise is the fact that people are much more apt to leave reviews for other human beings than they are for a business. Like, I'll leave a review for the barista who's made my coffee, but not necessarily for the coffee shop. And so the automation I built basically, like 78 minutes after someone checks into a class, or an hour and 20 minutes after, it sends a simple request from the coach that says, "Hey, how was class? Leave me some feedback." Simple as that. But it uses AI to reformat it every time to be a little bit more personal, and it's done very, very well. Like completely blown away my expectations on how it would do. So to answer your other question about investing in tech, I actually don't believe that's the gym owner's job. I think that's like ABC's job, that's PushPress's job. I think our role in this ecosystem is to deploy our resources to build the tools, the technological tools that allow gyms to scale without them having to think about those things, because that's not really their wheelhouse. Like I'm sure Mo would agree with me, but their job and their wheelhouse is to stand in front of clients and make them healthier, right?
Absolutely, Dan. And one of the I think the other job we have to do is to educate them on how to use our tools better. We spend so much time thinking about like you did with Jim Happy. Now you've got to encourage the gym owners to say leverage your partners. And I think that's a really important point because I talk about this a lot. Is now in the age of AI, it almost is more important than ever to actually get familiar with your vendor's roadmap. And
Hmm.
because their roadmap is in a lot of ways your roadmap. So while I agree, you don't need to be investing in tech, I still think you need to be investing in operations, people, culture that's going to be able to leverage and like utilize the technology that we are building.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like your roadmap isn't to build the tech, but you should be spending time understanding the tech,
That's right.
maybe probably tuning into webinars on how to leverage the tech as best as possible. And ideally, if we're all doing our jobs, like the tech becomes easier and easier, and you don't have to spend a lot of time training and educating on it. It just becomes usable right out the gate.
Yeah.
But that's always the challenge with software.
I know a lot of the headlines across all industries is that AI are going to be replacing most jobs, and I think certainly there was a surprise as some of these tools came out, that it wasn't necessarily some of the lower paid jobs; it was more some of the sort of higher skilled jobs, like things like lawyers and that we're seeing sort of being disrupted a lot more than maybe people anticipated at the beginning. It was interesting to see the what Mind Body reported in there when they spoke to a lot of gym owners, because they seem to be saying that despite AI adoption, only 4% of fitness and wellness businesses reduce staff because of AI. What do you think is behind this? Do you think that there's going to be a lot more tools where businesses are going to be able to reduce costs and not have to rely as much on maybe trainers or people at the front desk to run things, or do you think that the fitness industry, that certainly from my perspective is very human to human, is going to be an industry that avoids major disruption from AI?
I think that's a really good question. And I'll bet you this is maybe where Mo and I diverge based on the client base we serve, because the gyms that I serve don't have tremendous staff and they cannot afford it. So a lot of times the owner is the front desk, is the salesperson, is the social media person, is everything. And so in my world, and I'd be interested to hear what Mo has to say about this, but in my world, it's the opposite. It's actually going to afford them the ability to build a staff and make themselves more efficient at being all the things, and or like where we're positioning PushPress to be is we want to be a system of action. Like we want to just be your social, like we want to do the jobs for you as opposed to making you figure out how to do the jobs in the software. So software, in my opinion, is going to flip and it's going to become systems of actions instead of systems of record. And you might wake up in the morning and AI could tell you, hey, I did these 14 things for you overnight, and here are the results of it. And here's the things I need you to follow up on. Like that's where I think we're going to be able to create a lot of leverage for our single owner operators.
So Dan, it might come to your surprise, but I'm actually very much in alignment with you. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One, maybe pre-pandemic, we might have had different views as it relates to big gyms versus the person who's doing everything, the back office, the coach, the scheduling, the bookkeeping, like all of it. But I think today there's a couple of reasons why AI is really going to change how all of us think about fitness. And there's a few reasons for that. I did a post yesterday on LinkedIn and I got some text, not everyone commented, but I got some text about it being a little bit controversial and a little bit unpopular. I'm not saying that AI is going to replace everything or everyone, but the reality is that there are things that AI does today that even a tier external Equinox might not be able to digest and consume in time. To me, AI is going to help us scale as an industry. It's going to help if you think about acquisition and follow up, even a big gym like a Planet Fitness, deals with that. Answering the phone is going to take up. Would you rather have your front desk person answering the phone, or would you rather have an AI agent coming in, picking up the call, answering the questions on things like locations, hours, and so on? Secondly, when you look at personalization and personal training, it's becoming increasingly more difficult for even the best intentioned trainers to be able to digest information, to be able to create programs, to be able to do all the things that needs to get done. I think AI is really going to help um, help trainers scale more. So ultimately, while AI is going to serve our respective kind of cohorts a little bit differently, I think at the end of the day, it's going to allow gyms, whether it's something run by a single person or a massive enterprise like a Planet Fitness, be able to scale more quickly, be more efficient, provide better customer service, and reach broader market.
Yeah, agreed. The interesting thing that I can see positioning, I have a position that AI as a technology is actually going to help the least sophisticated people the most. And if you compare a single owner operator like fitness person versus Equinox, clearly the single owner operator has the least amount of resources, if it's business acumen, whatever. But because you have the power of all of the internet at your fingertips, you now have a business advisor and a financial coach and a GSB graduate who can be in your pocket to help you advance your business. It will be interesting to see like how the different sides of the equation deploy and how it affects both of them. But I do think, all in all, long answer short, fitness is not going away. I think that we've all lost our second place, meaning a lot of us work from home now, and we don't even have a second place anymore. So fitness and gyms, and especially community-based gyms, are people's place to be human. And so the coach and the trainer and the human component of it, I don't think will ever go away. If it does, we're already plugged into the matrix, and we're so far down that rabbit hole, it doesn't matter anymore.
I'll move on to the next report, which is from it's less a report, but it's more of a press release. So Explore have recently announced its next gen and analytics dashboard for boutique fitness studios, centralizing KPIs and reducing spreadsheet churn. On this one, I again, question to you, Dan, but I'd be curious to see how the question relates to Yuma ABC Fitness. But from an independent perspective, what are some of the headaches that independent operators have in terms of understanding the KPIs in their business? And what do you say, Dan, are the really critical KPIs that people should be looking at on a regular basis?
That's interesting. I haven't seen that report. I think, just basic funnel metrics. We can keep it pretty simple for most gym owners. Basic funnel metrics, top of funnel sales conversion, all the way down through churn. I think churn is the most important thing people should look at. I think the onboarding segment of churn, like 3-month, 6-month churn from the data I see, is probably the most impactful for most gyms. The interesting thing about that is I actually think the challenge, I don't know how you guys feel at ABC, but the challenge I feel with reporting is every gym wants to see something a little bit different. Everyone's definition of a data point is different. Like, is it churn if they pause for 22 months, or is it paused, right? Like, you can go through all these scenarios and just say, like, how do you determine this? The definition matters. I actually think we've been playing with AI reporting, and I think chatting with your data is going to be the next explosion with reporting. I don't think reporting is going to be a thing pretty soon. It's just going to be like, hey, tell me who my 23 worst paying members are and tell me what to do with them. Like, you're going to have an analyst pack into your report now all of a sudden, instead of seeing a chart with some KPIs that you've got to like interpret and figure out what to do with.
Yeah, I think again we are in violent alignment here, Dan. So your data is a new membership. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. I always say with wearables, right, what is measured is managed. So from the ABC side, our benchmarks show that gyms leveraging advanced analytics can improve retention by 15 to 20% annually. So that's the difference between a growing club and a declining one.
Yeah.
To your point, Dan, and this is the key. The key is simplicity. So operators do not need data points. So in an age where you can measure and capture everything, too much of that is actually not a good thing. They really need three primary ones, and I'm sure you would agree, to tell them where to focus: retention risk, attendance consistency, and revenue per member. Right? You can go deeper, but those are the three primary ones that we try to focus on. If you nail those, you don't just run a gym; you're actually running a business with predictable growth. And I think to your point, like we're working on chat-based agents as well, because the old school reports that you're seeing, I agree, like you might need them, but it's not going to tell you what to do. But by chatting with, how do you point to your highest risk members? How can you improve your acquisition funnels? That's really where our products go. And it sounds like that's where yours is as well.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll stay on AI, but we'll move on to the ABC Wellness Watch report, which came out earlier this year. And so one of the points they make there is AI adoption is uneven across generations. So it seems as though, and I guess you'd expect this, but Gen Z and millennials are leading adoption of AI-powered fitness tools, 64% and 59% usage respectively, while only 17% of boomers have engaged with them with in this ABC Fitness Watch in 2025. So again, like with your business owners that you're working with, Dan, clearly you're creating software for some of these owner operators. Are you generally, how does your demographic of clients split? Is it generally skewing younger, so some of the solutions that you create are readily adopted by those people, or is it a mix? And how do you get, I guess, some of the sort of more older, I'll call them more mature business owners to adopt some of the things that you're developing?
Seeing that it's ABC's report, I'll let Mo go first on this one.
Yeah, I just sent a message on that too. So, okay, let me go take this because I'm very familiar with this particular report. And Dan, we actually don't talk a lot about ABC on this, but Matt came up with the agenda, so here we are. But it works out well with having you on the other side. So from the report, 49% of consumers use AI-powered fitness apps daily. So by generation, 64% of Gen Z, 59% of millennials, 41% of Gen X, and only 17% of boomers. So they use AI. But here's the glaring fact: 55% of them are worried about privacy. That is the paradox of AI in fitness. Adoption is massive, trust is fractured. Half of the consumers are already using AI tools daily, but over half of them don't completely trust them. So the biggest adoption gap that the report shows is really generational. Gen Z and millennials are all in. 6 out of 10 are using AI apps today. With boomers, only 17%. That's a 47-point gap. And I think, for the operator, it's important to ask the question, who are you serving? Because if you're serving mostly boomers and they're not on it, then I would not be investing in AI tools and doing that. The opportunity, as at least we see it, is gyms could become the trusted bridge between the apps they're coming into the doors with and the gym itself. So AI gives the operator the ability to personalize and predictive power. Coaches, and this is where coaches, I believe, have a really important role, can give them the human accountability and empathy, which AI is never going to do. And if operators can merge the two, in other words, the trust plus technology, I think that could be the retention secret and the perfect marriage between the two today.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think I take it for granted because I trust AI, but I also pay for the upper tiers where the AI doesn't get to use my information to train its own models, and I think that's an important distinction to make because I don't know if everyone realizes that.
Right.
But you realize there's 4 players in this ecosystem. There's the AI LLMs, there's the software provider, there's the gym, and there's the consumer. Between the gym owner and the software provider, we have to create a barrier between, when we build AI stuff, we're going to be building it in a way that it's not going to be training the data sets behind it. And the consumer can rest assured that the data flow will stop with the gym, right? Like the privacy is still there. And we have to make sure that that stuff is really intact. It's actually a good note to self. Like I personally take for granted some of these privacy things because I'm all in on it personally, even though I'm borderline boomer myself. But in terms of kind of the report you're talking about, I think most gym owners are under the boomer range. And I think a lot of them are looking for the leverage that AI can create and help them run their business better. So in terms of the B2B end of it, I think we're okay. It's the B2B2C or the B2C end of it that you have to be even more concerned about.
The other part on the report, again, probably start with you, Mo, and get Dan to comment, is it says trust and accuracy are major barriers. Now, I'm not sure whether that is likely to improve. I would have thought it is, but it says nearly 50% of consumers report encountering inaccurate or irrelevant data in some of these AI apps. I've certainly, as I've played around with ChatGPT over time, it can go a little bit AWOL in terms of what it's providing for you, and you've really got to go in and challenge it. So I just wondered, the sophistication of some of these more, B2B type of AI apps, and in terms of the accuracy, and and people, will they, as they use them more, distrust them if they don't find the information, or will that naturally improve over time?
What I challenge people to do as you're looking at trust is go use an AI-based image generator and go ask it to make something for you. Go ask it to make a logo, make a chart, and just look at the results. At the first time you do it, it's probably far from what you've expected. Then you've got to continue to drive AI with prompts to ultimately get it to where you need. That is what you are seeing when you first ask AI to build something that is hyper personalized for you. Like, it takes work to get there, and I think, without knowing, right? So there's obviously the big players out there, and I agree with Dan. If you really are going to give personal information, pay for the premium product so that it does not get shared with the public large language models. But there's a lot of startups that are just built on top of GPTs, and they're popping up all over the place. This is not true for many of them, but a lot of them aren't research backed. They're just like a veneer on top of an open framework model. And you're trusting this for your health data, right? Dan, unfortunately, came into this podcast a little bit injured, right, from a strong session earlier today. But imagine what the wrong workup prescription or the wrong nutrition information, it could have health consequences. So I think, um, you know, the trust in AI, it's a bit more complicated, and consumers are probably right. And I think they're sophisticated and they're right in not placing all the trust in AI, and we'll eventually get there. But there's a lot that consumers need to be attuned to.
Yeah, my general premise on this is, I don't know if you guys remember, like I've been using like commercial AI tooling now for, I don't know, since 2019. And it is light years better. Like, I mean, that's 6 years, which in the AI world is like 100 years.
Yes.
But if you think of like GPT-3, which maybe came out 18 to 12 months ago, compared to this new version of 5, like we are light years ahead in terms of how much context window it has, the reasoning it can do, the tooling calls it can do. So my bet, which I don't think is a crazy bet, is in a year or two, we're going to look back at 2025 and go, that was the stone ages of AI. And every year that passes, that's going to become, just orders of magnitude farther and farther away from where we are today and where we were yesterday. So my bet is, in a few years, this AI is going to get so good, the errors are going to come down, and we're all going to understand how to work with it better. Meaning, like, we know that we'll start building, like, to me at PushPress, one of the bigger things we need to do is start building more subjective and unstructured data collection mechanisms so that we have more AI context to feed back into the machine in the way that the AI wants to get it. So there's a lot, like, as we start to understand LLMs better, we're going to learn how to work with it better and work alongside it in a way that helps the clientele in a more sophisticated manner that AI is suited for.
We've hit our time for this week. We've covered quite a lot of ground as usual. So towards the end of the episode, we ask our guests for some takeaways. So I'll probably start with you, Mo. What are your key takeaways from the conversation today?
Well, there are so many good takeaways, Dan. I feel like you and I can chat with Matthew, but for hours. So my key takeaway is optimism is nice, but from everything we've talked about, it really comes down to execution, doesn't it? Like, execution is everything. And for operators who really want to win in the next 5 years, probably have to do three things. One, I would say diversify revenue. We talked about that. Embracing tech without having it overwhelm you, and really become the trusted translator between AI and human coaching. I think that is like a really key opportunity. That's the new playbook in fitness. And it's bigger than software. I know we both are with technology companies, but it's bigger than that. It's really about redefining what members expect from a fitness experience.
To expand on that in a macro level, I would say we are living right now in a time that the technological advancements that have been put in front of us, I think, are going to be greater than the advent of the internet. It's probably going to be the greatest that we've known to date in mankind. And I think it would behoove everybody, whether you're a gym owner or a gym goer, to understand how LLMs work and AI works, and how you can actually leverage that to make yourself much more efficient in your day-to-day and business operations. So there's a lot of ways to think about it, but again, it comes down to basic concepts that LLMs run on. I just spoke about it, like understand context, understand unstructured data, which is just basically like the great thing about Jim Happy or reviews is it's unstructured data, and the fact that it's just a bunch of words that someone writes, that's their feelings. That's the one thing that the AI wants to eat the most is someone's brain, like what they're thinking, because that's what it doesn't know is what humans think all the time. So the more you can extract that out of your members, the better context you're going to have to allow your coaches to leverage AI to help a member better.
Matthew,
Hopefully that
how
wasn't
about you?
too
I mean,
wasn't
you've
too
been in,
nerdy.
no, not at all. I mean, Matthew loves the nerdy conversations. He always says he's not into technology, but he actually sends me technology things before I see it first. So,
Okay.
Matthew, any key takeaways from you?
Yeah, well, instinctively, I was going to say, one of the, in terms of bringing it back to a level that you can grasp onto something, I was going to sort of, my instinct was to say, well, focus on some of the real key fundamentals and then build around that. But when one of the things that Dan said kind of got me to question that, because when we were talking about dashboards, which have been around forever, and most people kind of have some sort of dashboard in terms of guiding where they're going. And Dan's comment about, well, you're not even going to need that. You're just going to ask it questions and then it's going to give you the information. So I think when it comes down to some of these key principles, whilst there are always going to be these key business principles, I do think that putting some time, as you've referenced there, Dan, to almost like reimagine how you may interact with these things so that you can start to decide where you need to play and what you need to focus on. I think that is an important lesson for all of us, because I don't think many people are spending, outside of yourselves that are really in this business, I don't think people are really spending the time they need to understand how much of a significant shift this is going to be, and where where your entry point is in terms of it being part of what you do. In very interesting future, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Well, that's a wrap. Dan, thank you so much for joining Lifts. I hope and wish you a speedy recovery and that you can get back to sparring and lifting and doing all the things we love.
Thanks for listening to this episode. We'll put some details from, if you want to find out more about Dan. I understand he's got a fantastic podcast. I listened to one of the episodes just last night. So we'll put some details about your podcast. And if you're interested, if you're an independent gym owner and you're looking for more information about PushPress, we'll share that in the show notes and on the email as well. So thanks for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a few more people.